Single mom waitress discovers dying mafia boss, revealed the incredible life-changing secret. The storm raged outside, drenching the cracked streets of Chicago as lightning lit up the diner's flickering sign. Inside, Emma, a single mom in her mid-30s, hustled between tables, her heart full of hope, albeit weighed down by the grind of life. Her spirited son Lucas, with bright eyes and dreams bigger than the sky, deserved more than this rundown diner, and every day she fought to give him the future he craved. But on that stormy evening, everything changed. As thunder rolled, a shadowy figure stumbled through the door, sending a thrill of panic through the diner. It was Sal, an elderly man cloaked in the mystery of his past, who collapsed at the counter, gasping for breath. Heads turned and whispers erupted among the regulars, who were used to sharing stories of dreams deferred. Emma's instincts kicked in, and she rushed to his side without hesitation. "Please, don't you dare die on me," she shouted, her voice steady even as her heart raced. She knelt beside him, their eyes locking in a shared understanding of pain and longing, each of them carrying burdens heavier than they appeared. With every breath, Sal opened up, his words painted with regret. He was once a feared mafia boss, haunted by choices that had torn his family apart. "I've hurt too many," he rasped, and Emma felt the weight of his admission drape over her like a thick shroud of sorrow. As he spoke of a hidden stash of money meant for long-lost relatives paying the price for his decisions, Emma's breath caught. The thought of financial salvation danced before her. Could this be the key to transforming her life and Lucas's? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the diners watched, intrigued by this unfolding drama, Emma felt a flicker of hope mingled with doubt. Should she help him reconcile with his past, or take the money for her own family? She wrestled with the choice as Sal's health deteriorated, turning the diner from a mere workplace into sacred ground for secrets. Laughter hung in the air, mixed with the gravity of their discussions, each question a step toward a path she never chose. Their bond grew, moments filled with laughter and tears, as Lucas's bright smile flickered through her mind. Would it be fair to him to chase a better life at such a high cost? Or was redemption possible through this unlikely alliance? The clock ticked on, the tension palpable, as Emma held the weight of her decision close. A siren wailed in the distance, cutting through the atmosphere like a warning. Emma's heart raced. What would she choose? Would she claim the salvation for her family, or allow Sal a chance to mend something long broken? As uncertainty hung heavy in the air, she was faced with an unbearable question that wrapped around her heart. What is worth more, her family's near future, or a dying man's chance to make amends? Emma steadied herself, leaning closer to Sal as he continued to wheeze out his painful confessions. The aroma of greasy fries and coffee mixed with the scent of rain wafting in from the storm outside, a whirlwind of chaos both in and out of the diner. She could feel curious eyes on her, the regulars who had gathered for casual meals now transfixed by this dramatic scene unfolding right in front of them. "Emma, please," Sal gasped, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't have much time. You must understand. This is my final chance to set things right. I need you to help me find my family." Her heart ached with conflicting emotions. On one hand, she dreamed of a life free from the endless cycle of struggle, a way to ensure Lucas would never know the depths of financial despair. On the other, the urge to help a broken man seeking redemption stirred something deeper within her. She thought of Lucas again, curled up cozy in his bed, dreaming of the world beyond their one-room apartment. Would she truly risk this moment for a chance at salvation that might not even be hers to take? Where is the money? She asked, her voice trembling slightly as she grappled with the man's desperation. His sunken eyes brightened with a flicker of purpose. In a place tied to my past, Sal said, struggling to maintain composure. 20 years ago, I buried it where no one could find it, but I was wrong. I thought it would protect them, but it only destroyed us. As he spoke, the weight of his regrets hung heavy in the air. Emma listened intently, making connections as fast as her mind could race. The truth of his words danced in the corners of her thoughts. A closing chapter for him could mean the opening of a new story for her, but at what cost? The diner temporarily faded into silence. The clanging of dishes and low conversations halted as everyone hung on every word. The neon lights flickered with a stutter, mirroring her stammering heart. "Where is the place?" she pressed, urgency edging into her voice. "Help me understand, Sal. I want to help you." He took a ragged breath and closed his eyes for a split second. "It's near an old warehouse on Clybourne, by the docks. But you have to be careful. There are people who just..." Then a loud crash echoed from the diner's back entrance, making everyone jump. The door flung open, revealing a group of men dressed in dark jackets, their presence as cold as the storm outside. Emma's heart jumped into her throat. She recognized them from whispers, dangerous gangsters tied to Sal's past. "Salvatore," one of the men sneered, cutting through the room, his voice low and threatening. "You're back in our territory. You think you can slip away?" Emma's instincts kicked in, fear propelling her into action. She had to protect Lucas, and she wouldn't let them take Sal. The stakes had escalated, and everything was on the line now. As the men advanced, Sal looked at Emma, desperation etched in his features. "You have to go. Take Lucas and..." But she wasn't ready to give up. Not now. Not when both their futures hung in the balance. The diner was no longer just a place of work. It was a battleground for hope, fear, and redemption. Emma took a deep breath, summoning an inner strength she didn't know she possessed. "No, I won't leave you." The men closed in, but Emma stood firm. She had a decision to make: lead them to the truth Sal sought, or risk everything to uncover a future that might hold hope for Lucas. As the tension in the diner thickened, Emma looked at Emma, desperation etched in his features. "You have to go. Take Lucas and..." But she wasn't ready to give up. Not now. Not when both their futures hung in the balance. The diner was no longer just a place of work. It was a battleground for hope, fear, and redemption. Emma took a deep breath, summoning an inner strength she didn't know she possessed. "No, I won't leave you." The men closed in, but Emma stood firm. She had a decision to make: lead them to the truth Sal sought, or risk everything to uncover a future that might hold hope for Lucas. As the tension in the diner thickened, Emma knew the next impossible choice was just around the corner. But would she find the courage to face whatever came next? Could she truly pave a path forward for both herself and Sal? Or was she about to step into a darkness that could swallow them whole? Emma's heart raced as the men narrowed their focus. All eyes were on the scene, a heavy silence draping over the diner like a dense fog. She could feel the weight of everyone's gaze, a mixture of fear and fascination. The men moved with an unsettling confidence, their intentions clear and ruthless. But Emma refused to crumble. "Stay back," she called, feeling the heat rise in her chest. She had always been good at standing her ground, but this felt different. This was about her son, her future, and now, it seemed, Sal's life hung in the balance too. "Look at this," the leader of the gang mocked, his smirk arrogant. "A little waitress thinks she can save the day. Ain't that cute?" Emma clenched her fists, summoning every ounce of courage. "You won't hurt him," she declared, her voice steadier than she felt. "Let him go." Sal's eyes pleaded with her, a mix of gratitude and dread. "Emma, listen," he started, but she shook her head, refusing to let fear linger. "Enough," she barked. "You want him? You'll have to go through me first." The men exchanged glances, surprised by the fierceness radiating from her. Perhaps they hadn't expected a waitress to stand her ground. It gave her a flicker of hope, a tiny spark in a moment that felt like it was drowning in darkness. "Seems we've got a hero," the leader sneered, taking a step closer. "But heroes don't tend to last long in this business." He gestured to his men, and they stepped forward. The fear in her gut coiled tighter. "Sal," Emma whispered. She needed a plan, a way out. Sal was clearly caught in the web of his past, and the shadows behind those men had a long reach. She glanced toward the exit, envisioning a quick dash with Lucas in tow, away from this chaos and pain. Sal saw her hesitation, the indecision reflected in her gaze. "Emma, wait, if I can just explain." "That's enough," the leader growled, clearly running out of patience. "You're lucky we don't want to draw more attention. We'll handle this later." A wave of relief flooded Emma, but her victory was short-lived. They still surrounded Sal, and every instinct told her a storm was brewing. "You can't just walk away. He's not just some pawn," she said, her voice rising. "I'll get him back," the leader replied, teeth gritted in annoyance. "Better watch yourself, sweetheart." Just as they began to retreat, the power flickered in the diner, plunging them into an uneasy darkness. Gasps erupted, and an unavoidable panic swept through the crowd. Emma's heart raced faster. She seized the moment. "Now!" she shouted to Sal, as the flood of darkness gave them the cover they needed. She rushed toward him, navigating through the rush of patrons trying to find the exit. "We need to leave, now!" He nodded, understanding the urgency, and together they stumbled toward the back door, her mind racing ahead. Would they make it out? Would the men come for them? Suddenly, the back door creaked open, revealing a figure standing silhouetted against the dim light behind them. Emma's stomach plummeted as the shadow stepped forward, revealing a familiar face. It was Luca, wide-eyed and worried, standing inside the diner with his small backpack, oblivious to the danger swirling around them. "Mom, I thought you'd—" he began, but Emma interrupted, heart clenching. "Luca, come here," she urged, sweeping him into her arms. She glanced at Sal, who looked back at her, his uncertainty mirrored in Lucas's innocent eyes. Would they be able to escape this nightmare before it consumed them? She felt a profound sense of dread as she realized how closely linked their fates were. As the men regrouped outside, Emma knew they were running out of time. The road ahead was fraught with danger, and she had to make a choice that could change everything. "Sal, what do we do next?" she asked, breathless as fear laced her voice. The weight of the world rested on their shoulders, and she knew this moment could sever the fragile thread of safety she had fought so hard to maintain. Would they risk the dive into darkness that awaited them, or was there still a way out? The answer loomed like a storm cloud on the horizon, waiting to be unleashed. Moment hung in the air, charged with tension. Emma gripped Luca tighter, the boy's small body trembling against her. She looked at Sal, his face drawn and troubled, and felt her stomach twist at the thought of the choice ahead. "They're regrouping," Sal whispered, breaking the silence. "We don't have long." "What about the front?" Emma asked, scanning the dimly lit diner filled with anxious patrons. The flickering light cast eerie shadows that danced across the walls. "Should we try the front door?" "It's too risky," Sal said, glancing toward the narrow hall that led to the kitchen. "The back is our best bet, but we might run into them if they're waiting for us." Emma's heart sank. "If we go through the front, we could lose them in the crowd. Or get caught," Sal countered, his voice a ragged whisper. "It's a gamble." Before they could decide, a shout pierced the tension from outside. The leader's voice was sharp, commanding. "They're in there! Get them!" Emma felt the blood drain from her face. The gang wouldn't give up easily, and the swift pounding of her heart echoed the urgency of the moment. She felt Luca's tiny hand squeeze her arm. "Mom, what's happening?" he asked, wide-eyed. "Just hold on, sweetheart. We're getting out," Emma assured him, though she could sense the doubt creeping into her words. "Sal, do you trust me?" she asked suddenly, an idea sparking in her mind. He met her gaze, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "With my life, but it's about more than that. If we create a distraction," she began, gripping her son tighter against her side. "What do you have in mind?" Sal replied, the eagerness in his voice mixed with dread. "The diner has a back door, right?" she said, glancing at the exit behind them. "If I can get their attention, you and Luca slip through. No one will see you." "Emma, no," Sal protested, inching closer. "I won't let you put yourself at risk." "I'm not letting you or Luca face them alone," she insisted, her jaw set. Then came another shout from the leader, the sound like a thunderclap crashing through the diner's atmosphere. "They're probably hiding. Find them." "Now," Emma said, urgency spiking in her tone. "We don't have time to argue." With that, she turned to the kitchen door that was slightly ajar, the dim light spilling out. "I'll create a distraction. You two go." Sal hesitated, his eyes searching hers for any sign of doubt. "Promise me you'll be safe. Just go, now." As Sal grabbed Luca's hand and hurried towards the exit, Emma took a deep breath and stepped into the kitchen. The smell of grease and spilled food filled her senses. She felt a spark of adrenaline surge through her. "Hey," Emma called out, her voice ringing defiantly. "Over here." Footsteps thundered her way, and she could hear the shouting men rallying. It was a small spark, but it could ignite a wildfire of chaos. And maybe, just maybe, it would buy Sal and Luca enough time. Her heart pounded as she darted toward a pile of pots, sending them crashing to the floor. The clang echoed like a gunshot, and she could hear the men's footsteps stop abruptly. "Go," she whispered, praying Sal was leading Luca away. Then she turned and sprinted toward the back door, ready to face whatever was waiting on the other side. The tingling energy of hope mixed with sheer terror coursed through her. Suddenly, just as she reached for the door handle, she heard a voice behind her. "Going somewhere?" Her breath stuck in her throat, and she turned slowly, dread pooling in her stomach. The leader stood in the doorway, eyes glinting with malice, all too aware of her plan. "What are you going to do?" she blurted, desperation creeping into her voice. But as she watched the back door shut, sealing her fate, she couldn't help but wonder, would her gamble bring the darkness crashing down upon them, or would it somehow save their lives? The threat loomed large, but one thing was for sure, the moment of truth was upon them. Emma's heart raced as she faced the leader, his presence flooding the room with an icy dread. Just moments ago, she'd felt the rush of adrenaline pumping through her veins, and now it felt as if the very air had thickened with fear. She wrestled with the instinct to flee, but her feet seemed to be glued to the floor. "Do you think you can outsmart me?" he sneered, inching closer. The shadows seemed to stretch around him, amplifying his menacing figure. "You're just a waitress, trying to play the hero." "Let them go," Emma demanded, her voice shaky but defiant. "This is between us. You don't have to involve them." The leader chuckled darkly, glancing past her toward the exit. "And why would I do that? You made your choice. I won't let you escape that easily." Bitterness laced his words, and Emma felt despair clawing at her insides. She had thought of herself as a protector, but now she felt like a target, exposed and vulnerable. But then she remembered Luca, his small frame, the innocence that shone in his eyes. She couldn't let that be taken away. "Please," she tried again, desperation creeping into her voice. "You can still end this without hurting anyone." "Such a naive little thing," he replied, his days flickering with amusement. But then it twisted into anger. Enough of this. The sharp sound of his command splintered the air. Emma instinctively backed away, but there was nowhere to go. Just then, the kitchen door creaked and began to swing open. Sal appeared, panting and flushed, with panic etched across his features. "Emma, go!" he shouted, stepping in front of her, instinctively shielding her. "What are you doing?" Emma gasped, bewildered. Get out of here, Sal urged, glancing back at the leader who growled low, a predator cornering prey. I'll hold him off. No, Emma shouted, fighting the wave of fear that threatened to pull her under. We don't leave each other. Sal's eyes locked onto hers, pleading, You have to. With a surge of determination, Emma stepped forward. She couldn't let Sal take the fall for her recklessness. What do you want? She asked, voice steadying. If it's me you want, then take me. Let them go. It's me you're after. The leader's eyes brightened with interest, a wicked grin creeping across his face. Now there's the spirit. But what could you possibly offer me? Swallowing hard, Emma took another step forward, focusing all her strength on staying composed. I can work for you. I'm resourceful. Just let them leave. Is that what you think your life has boiled down to? His laughter was cruel, echoing off the kitchen walls. You really think you could bring value to me with those empty threats? Let's find out, Emma shot back, her voice still shaky but emboldened by her determination to protect her son and Sal. You're underestimating me. Sal's hand shot out to grab her arm. Emma, stop. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. I'll do anything to keep them safe. The leader's amusement faded, replaced by an unsettling interest. Interesting move. You may just have caught my attention. Emma's heart pounded, her impulse fighting against the overwhelming need to protect. But in that desperation, she saw just the faintest glimmer of hope, a chance to turn the tide. Now, the leader continued, licking his lips as he considered her proposal, let's talk terms. In that terrifying moment, with the stakes higher than ever, Emma realized she was about to step into a world far darker than she ever imagined. What had begun as a simple act of courage twisted into a gamble with dire consequences. Would she lose everything trying to hold on to what mattered most? Or could she somehow turn this dire moment into an unexpected lifeline? As the weight of the dilemma pressed down around her, Emma knew that the next steps could change everything. Could she navigate this treacherous dance, or would the darkness consume her whole? Emma's pulse raced, drowning out the chaos of the moment. Here, in the dimly lit kitchen, a deal hung in the air like the thick fog of uncertainty. The leader's eyes shimmered with calculating interest, as if she had unwittingly placed herself on his chessboard, a sacrificial pawn. What do you think I need a resourceful waitress for? He taunted, stepping so close that she could smell the faint tang of his cologne laced with danger. What skills do you bring to the table, She swallowed hard, her mind racing. I know how to blend in. I can gather information, deliver messages, whatever you need. Her voice trembled, but she forced herself to hold his gaze, unwilling to flinch. For a moment, silence reigned. Sal's stiff stance beside her spoke volumes of his, and Emma could see the desperation swirling within him. He didn't want her to bargain with this man, but Emma couldn't back down. Luca was counting on her. The leader stepped back slightly, contemplating her words. You truly believe you can help me? He leaned against the stainless steel counter, a predator playing with its meal. Then let's make this interesting. What do you want? She asked, steeling her resolve. The knot in her stomach twisted tighter. I need a delivery made tonight, a sensitive package, shall we say, one that requires a level of discretion and skill, he said, grinning. You'll take it and fulfill my order without question. Then, and only then, I'll consider letting them go. Emma felt her breath hitch. A delivery? To whom? Her mind raced with the implications of becoming part of something so sinister. And if I refuse? She asked, forcing the words through gritted teeth. The leader's smile disappeared, replaced with a cold glare. Refusal isn't an option, darling. You've already chosen your path. It's either that, or I show you the consequences of defiance. With every word, she could feel her chest tighten, the weight of fear wrapping around her throat. Suddenly, she heard a muffled whimper from the adjacent room, and her heart plummeted. Luca! Stop! You can't involve him, Emma shouted, feeling the fury rise within her. He's just a kid. Is he? The leader turned, his voice dripping with sarcasm. You think he matters in this world, or in the game I'm playing? If you want him safe, you will do exactly as I say. Sal, still standing protectively at her side, whispered, Emma, don't do this. We can find another way. But Emma's thoughts raced. There was a sliver of hope. If she could complete this delivery, maybe she could leverage something more important, her freedom and her son's life. With a breath, she leaned closer to the leader. I'll do it, she said, each word heavy with gravity. But you have to promise me they're safe, that this is just a temporary deal. He raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Very well, a temporary deal then. You deliver, they walk free. Fine, she replied, her heart thunderous. But I need details. Who am I delivering to? Ah, there lies the beauty of our agreement, he said. You'll find out soon enough. Just make sure it's done. And remember, your life and their safety depend on your success. As tension filled the air, Emma felt the weight of her decision settle on her shoulders. She was now entangled in threads far darker than she'd ever imagined, doing whatever it took to protect her family. But just when she thought the stakes couldn't get higher, the kitchen door swung open. A figure stepped inside, drenched in shadows, their eyes gleaming with a familiar fire. Emma's stomach dropped. This was someone from her past. Emma? The figure said softly, a mixture of surprise and concern in their voice. Her world tilted, and for a moment, everything faded into the background. She could barely speak, fear gripping her heart. Who was this person, and what would they reveal that could alter the course of everything? The room held its breath, and all Emma could do was stare, shocked at who had just walked in. Is that really you? The figure stepped forward, the dim light revealing a face Emma hadn't seen in years. Emily, her childhood friend, stood before her. But the innocence of their past seemed to have evaporated. Instead, a sense of urgency radiated from her. What are you doing here? Emma managed to whisper, her voice shaky as memories rushed back. The carefree days of school, laughter, and shared dreams felt galaxies away. Yet here they were, tangled in a web of danger. Emily glanced around the room, her eyes flitting nervously to the leader. I came to warn you. I didn't know it would be like this. Warn me about what? Emma asked, her heart hammering harder. You can't just barge in here. The leader chuckled lightly, clearly amused. Ah, childhood friends reuniting in such lovely circumstances. He gestured towards Emily in an almost mocking fashion. What lovely timing, don't you think? Emma shot a furious look at him, but her attention was quickly drawn back to Emily, who looked like a ghost. You're in way over your head, Emma, she said, her voice lower. Luca, he's in danger, and you can't trust him. Trust who? Emma snapped, her emotions spiraling. She was on the edge, and every word felt like it could tip her over into chaos. You can't just drop cryptic warnings. I need answers, not more questions. Emily swallowed hard. I know about the package. It's not what you think. It's what people like him use to control lives. You need to get out, Emma. Now. Emma's mind raced. What did Emily know? Was releasing that package connected to something bigger? Something that could put her and Luca's lives in even more danger? If it's so bad, then what do I do? Just walk away? Not just walk, Emily insisted. You need to go. You need to find someone who can help. Someone who can give you a way out. Is there even an escape? Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper, filled with doubt. Maybe, Emma replied, her determination flickering like a candle in the wind. But you won't find it here. The leader, still watching them, interjected, "Oh, please don't stall, ladies. Time isn't on your side. And Emma, remember, you have a deal to fulfill, or your son pays for it." Tension thickened in the air like a coming storm. Emma's heart raced even faster. It was impossible not to think of Luca, his innocent laughter haunting her thoughts. How could she protect him while being shackled to this nightmarish reality? "What's in that package?" Emma asked Emily, her mind turning. Emily shook her head, biting her lip. "I can't say. I just know it puts you deeper in this world. You've got to find a way to turn the tables." Suddenly, a wave of clarity broke through Emma's desperation. If I can't trust him, then why would I follow his orders? That's the key. If I can figure out what's really going on. The leader's voice rose, cutting through her thoughts. "You're thinking too much, darling. Decisions need to be quick in situations like these. Or are you ready to pay the price?" Emma felt cornered. The stakes were impossibly high. The shadows of the moment loomed over her, and yet a fierce spark ignited within. She could fight. She could find a way. But the question remained, would she act before it was too late? "Emily, I need your help," she said, resolve hardening. "Whatever it takes." Emily nodded, and for the first time, Emma caught a flicker of hope. But just then, the lights flickered, as if preparing for a storm. Something was about to happen, something that could change everything. As the leader stepped closer, a sly grin on his face, Emma knew she had to act fast. The decisions ahead could make the difference between life and death. "Are we ready to play?" he said, and Emma felt that familiar knot twist in her stomach. Did she have what it took to break free from his grip? Or would she have to pay the ultimate price for freedom? The air crackled with tension as the leader loomed closer. Emma's heart pounded loudly in her chest, drowning out all rational thought. Could she really face him? The flickering lights cast shadows that danced on the walls, the figures twisting and turning like her racing mind. "Emma," Emily's voice sliced through the haze, firm and urgent. "We can't stay here. We need to move." "Where?" Emma demanded, anger and fear blending into a bitter taste in her mouth. "What can we even do? They have us trapped." "Think, Emma," Emily insisted, glancing at the door. "There's gotta be a back exit. We can't let them control the narrative. We get to that package and take it out of their hands." "Are you insane?" Emma shot back. "What if it really is dangerous?" "It's dangerous already." Emily's eyes, wide and frantic, locked onto Emma's. "By staying, we're letting him dictate our fate. Trust me, we have to be smarter than him." Emma's gut churned. The stakes were impossibly high. She thought of Luca, his laughter echoing in her mind, a siren call she could never ignore. If Emily believed there was hope, if she could stand against the tide, maybe there was a fighting chance after all. "Okay," Emma relented, taking a deep breath. "Let's find that exit. But we stick together, no matter what. Deal." The glimmer of confidence returned to Emily's face as she scanned the room. A cold sweat ran down her back as she moved toward the far wall, while trying to avoid the leader's gaze. Her instincts screamed at her. This was a moment to seize, to take control of her life, for Luca. The leader's amused voice cut through again. "Oh, ladies, running isn't going to change your fate. You're already part of the game." He stepped back, crossing his arms, demeanor oozing confidence. "Why not just accept your roles?" Emma felt the unyielding weight of defeat press down on her. But then she remembered. She wasn't here to play by anyone's rules. She wouldn't let them box her in. "Let's make a distraction," she whispered to Emily, adrenaline surging through her veins. "I can draw him away. You look for another way out." Without waiting for a response, Emma took a calculated step toward the leader. "You think you've got power here?" She forced herself to sound steady, even daring as she met his cold, calculating eyes. "You're not as clever as you think. You're just a coward hiding behind manipulation." His smirk faltered for a split second, surprise flickering in his gaze. It was just enough time. "Now!" Emma shouted as she turned on her heel, darting toward the farthest corner of the room. Emily's footsteps pounded behind her as they moved in unison, hearts racing. The leader cursed, shouting for his men, and chaos erupted within the dimly lit space. "Where do we go?" Emily yelled over the noise, eyes frantic. "The back. There's usually an escape route near the kitchen," Emma replied, determination pushing them forward. As they sprinted, Emma could hear shouts and footsteps closing in behind them. The world around her became a blur, every instinct telling her to run faster. She felt the overwhelming urge to protect her son tighten within her. Their feet pounded against the hard floor as they reached the kitchen doors. Emma pushed it open, the pungent scent of grease and spices spilling out into her lungs, a stark contrast to the cold reality behind them. "Through here," she directed, glancing back nervously. They could almost taste their freedom, but just as they started to inch away from danger, the sound of approaching footsteps escalated. "Emma, hurry!" Emily urged, already slipping through the narrow doorway. And in that moment, caught between the pull of their escape and the looming threat of the leader, Emma felt the weight of the world pressing down on her. As she was about to step into the unknown, a nearby crash reverberated through the space. The room fell eerily silent for just a moment, and then the emergency sirens blared to life, red lights flashing ominously in the kitchen. "What now?" Emily breathed, looking from Emma to the entrance, where shadows loomed larger. Emma's heart raced as adrenaline surged through her body. She could feel the walls closing in around them. "Now we find out just how deep this rabbit hole goes," Emma whispered, biting back her fear. With a final, resolute nod, they stepped deeper into the shadows, not knowing what awaited them on the other side. Would they find a way out or descend further into the tangled web of danger? The air felt much thicker in the narrow corridor, like they were moving through quicksand. Emma's heart drummed in her ears, each beat echoing the urgency of their escape. She glanced back, wishing she could shake the image of the leader's sinister smile from her mind. That smirk wouldn't easily fade. He knew how to play his game, but they were done being players. "Emma, this way," Emily urged, tugging her arm toward a dimly lit passageway that smelled faintly of cleaning supplies and old wood. Emma hesitated a moment, sensing the danger of the unknown, but they had no choice. As they slipped through the doorway, the cacophony of the main room faded behind them, swallowed by the oppressive silence of the corridor. It felt surreal, like stepping out of a nightmare into a barely lit reality. Shadows loomed and danced around them as they picked their way forward, the sudden quiet amplifying the soft sound of their breathing. "Do you think we lost them?" Emily whispered, her voice barely a sound above a breath. "I don't know," Emma admitted, feeling the anxiety mangle her stomach. She could already envision their pursuers crashing through the door any second. "We just need a few more moments." They crept along the hallway, Emma's hand brushing the cool walls for balance. Each footfall echoed like a heartbeat, reminding her of what she had to protect. Suddenly, they reached a fork. One way led into darkness, less traveled and eerie, while the other appeared slightly brighter, illuminated by flickering overhead lights. "Which way?" Emily asked, eyes darting nervously. "Let's try the light," Emma said, although a voice in her mind cautioned her against it. But hope can sometimes dim when surrounded by darkness. As they ventured down the brightly lit corridor, Emma's heart sank as they came upon a heavy steel door. The grimy glass window revealed nothing but blackness beyond. They would need to push the door open, a significant risk, but they couldn't turn back now. "Are you ready?" Emily's voice quivered with uncertainty. "Ready as I'll ever be," Emma replied, and they pressed their backs against the door. Together, they shoved it open, the clang reverberating loudly in the stillness. When Emma stepped inside, a shocking sight met her eyes. A massive room filled with what seemed like stacks of boxes and crates. In the center, stretched casually against a worn leather couch, was a man, his pale face glistening with perspiration. "Who?" he gasped, struggling to form the words. "What are you doing here?" Emma's heart dropped. The air around her thickened with recognition. This wasn't just any man. It was the feared Mafia boss whose name had echoed in whispers throughout the city. She had seen his face on news reports, painted as a monster. But now he looked fragile, barely holding on to life. "Didn't you hear the alarms?" she asked, the weight of inevitability pressing down on her. I'm not leaving," he wheezed, clutching his chest. "You must listen to me." "Why should we?" Emma shot back, anger spurring her. "You're the cause of this chaos." "Because," he choked out, struggling for breath, "there's a key to all of this. I need you to help me." "Do you really think we'd help you?" Emily interjected, disbelief mingling with a hint of fear. "Please," he gasped, desperation spilling from his words. "If you want to save yourselves, you need what I have." Emma's mind whirled. Everything inside her screamed to refuse. Yet a flicker of curiosity ignited. Could this really be the path to freedom they both yearned for? "Tell us," Emma managed, her voice steady despite the maelstrom of emotions inside. Just as the Mafia boss began to divulge his secrets, there was a sudden crash from the entrance, followed by hurried footsteps. Emma and Emily's eyes widened in horror. They weren't safe yet. "Whatever you say, we need to hurry," Emma urged, the urgency in her voice clear. "If you let me finish," he rasped, pointing weakly towards a hidden compartment beneath the couch. The stakes had escalated, and time was running out. Emma felt the weight of the choices before her. Could she trust a man like him, or was this just another trap? As they searched for the truth hidden in the chaos, the shadows loomed larger, and Emma sensed their freedom slipping away. How much further could they fall into this dangerous game? Before the Mafia boss could offer more, the door burst open, the unmistakable figures of the gang spilling into the room like a torrent, bringing the suffocating weight of fear with them. Panic surged through Emma's veins. They had to move, but could they trust the dying man sprawled before them? "Get out of the way," barked the leader from the gang, eyes blazing with malice as he sized up the trio in the room. "Think this is over?" he smirked, assuming control of the chaos unfolding. "You're all in way too deep." As the tension peaked, the Mafia boss rasped, "The package, you need it." But his voice was strained, barely audible over the escalating shouts from the gang outside. "Your words are empty," Emma snapped, trying to calculate her next move, now torn between confronting the gang and understanding the gravity of the Mafia boss's words. "If this is another trap—" "Not a trap," he gasped, holding her gaze with unexpected intensity. "The information I have could bring him down. He can't win if you know what he's planning. It's all here, but I need your help." Each heartbeat screamed at Emma that time was slipping away. Could the Mafia boss be telling the truth? She shot a quick glance at Emily, gauging her friend's reaction, but fear swirled in their shared silence. "Emma," the leader called out mockingly from the doorway, "playtime's over. You need to decide fast. Stay and face the music or leave, but you won't make it far without some real backup." Time stood still as every second passed like a weight on her conscience. She could feel the danger closing in around them. Luca's smiling face filled her mind, pushing her toward the edge of decision. What would she do to protect him? "All right," Emma said, the resolve flooding her voice. "I'll help you, but only if you can guarantee our safety." The Mafia boss nodded weakly, fighting to keep his composure. "Fine. Take the documents in the compartment. It holds everything you'll need." A rush of action surged through the room as Emma swiftly crawled under the couch, her fingers trembling as she grasped a weathered folder from the hidden compartment. The lore of the city, the secrets bound within those pages, could create enough leverage to shift the balance of power. "Now what?" Emily urged, glancing nervously between the fleeing gangs and the prone Mafia boss. "Now we fight," Emma said, her voice resolute. "We don't turn back. If we use the information against him, maybe we can outsmart them." The room filled with shouts from the gang as they advanced, relentless determination radiating through Emma's adrenaline-fueled resolve. "Listen, we need an escape route. There has to be another exit." Turning to the Mafia boss, she demanded, "Where do we go?" "Through the back," he wheezed, pointing behind a stack of crates. "But you'll have to move fast. They won't hesitate to kill an annoyance." With a nod to Emily, they sprinted toward the makeshift exit. Emma's heart raced, pushing her into a furious scramble, adrenaline pumping with each step. The looming threat of the gang ignited a fire inside her. She refused to let fear guide her any longer. As they wormed their way through crates, muffled voices bellowing in pursuit, and the impending threat of violence hung heavily. Just when hope flickered in the dark, she heard heavy footsteps echoing down the corridor. "I see you," the leader sneered. "Run!" Emma shouted, panic threading through her urgency. They surged forward, fear feeding their speed, as they soon found themselves in an alley lined with shadows. "Where do we go now?" Emily gasped, her breath ragged as they pressed against the door, desperately trying to catch their breath. "Think, they'll corner us if we stay," Emma urged, desperately scanning for potential escape routes. Just then, an idea sparked in her mind. "The warehouse, the docks, we can hide there. It's our best chance to lose them and figure out what to do with this information." Emily nodded, determination set in her eyes. "Let's go, together." They surged down the alley, hearts pounding with fear and resolve. Behind them, the clang of footsteps broke through the night. But in that moment of chaos, something cracked just open within Emma, a sense of purpose. She wasn't just running, she was reclaiming her life, for herself and for Lucas. As they reached the fading light, the street, Emma's heart swelled with hope. They could make it. They had what they needed for a future. But just as they turned the corner, she froze. Luca, his small form standing wide-eyed amid the shadowy street. "Mom?" he called, voice trembling. "Oh no!" Emma blinked through her shock, locking eyes with her son. She couldn't let the darkness engulf them. "Lucas!" she cried, rushing to him, wrapping him in her arms, shielding him from the nightmare that loomed closer. His little body pressed against hers felt like a lifeline in this chaotic storm. Just then, as the gang approached, desperation catalyzed Emma's resolve. She had to fight. "Stay with me. We're getting out of here." The dark shadows narrowed, but Emma felt emboldened, a beacon of strength fueled by love and determination. The Mafia boss had given her a chance. She wasn't going to let it slip away. With her son by her side and Emily's fierce dedication backing her, they faced the dark tide with swaths of hope illuminating the path ahead. "Let's move," she shouted, and together they stepped back into the light, ready to confront whatever came next. It was now or never. The room was charged with a different energy, one of liberation and defiance. They wouldn't simply survive. They would thrive, shift the tides, and break the cycle they had been woven into. Emma understood now. Their past wouldn't dictate their future if they fought fiercely for it. In that moment, they became warriors of hope, driving forward, determined to carve their path toward a brighter tomorrow. Now that you've journeyed with Emma, Lucas, and Emily through danger and redemption, it's your turn to act. You need to subscribe now to this channel so you won't miss out on the next gripping story that celebrates courage and transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support truly makes a difference and helps the channel grow. Comment below with your feelings about this thrilling conclusion. What journey inspired you the most? And don't wait, not even one more second, to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness their own transformations. Only true fans know the value of supporting our little community here.